Okay, today we're going to cover pre-balancing your Epoch V2 and V2-T batteries prior to installation, or in some cases, if you already have them installed, with a multi-plus under DVCC control using a servo under BMS control. And we'll go over some methods to get these batteries balanced right out of the box. All right, let's go over that. All right, the first method is to use a power supply like this. These are perfect tools to use for balancing any battery, but including these V2 and V2-T batteries. You can get these off Amazon for less than $50. I've seen them as low as $39, and they're an excellent tool to have around the shop for various purposes, including balancing any battery that can be balanced. The first step in using a power supply to do the force balancing is to set the voltage that we want. Right now I have the lead disconnected, because with the lead disconnected it's not allowing the battery to drag this voltage down, so I can set the voltage how I want. In this case I think we're going to shoot for 13.8 volts. So now when I plug in my negative lead here, and we are charging with 7 amps, when the battery voltage starts to get close to the output of the charger, then that amperage is going to naturally fall. So we're only reading 5.7 amps here. I've got a little bit of current voltage drop along the way here. Battery voltage is 13.5. The voltage differential is only 2 millivolts. That's because we're still in the middle of the range as far as the battery voltage and cell voltage. When this starts to go up to 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, this delta will grow slightly. In this case it's not going to grow very much because our battery has already been balanced here, but in your case on a brand new battery, when you reach 13.8 here, you might see 100 millivolts, you might see 150 millivolts. We will let this charge up to stabilize to whatever this number is equal to that number here, what you set in there. At that point the current will drop, and whatever this number ends up being when those conditions are set, when this is at almost 0 amps and the voltage of the output of that and the voltage of the battery are the same, then we're in the conditions for balancing. And if you have the new Epoch Cloud app, then you'll see this balance icon right here go to on, and it'll show that it's balancing. And basically from there you just let this sit for 12 hours, 24 hours, even 48 hours. However long you need to let it sit to get this millivolts down below 50 millivolts. Of course we're only reading 3 right now, but if this was a brand new battery you might see more. So when this gets down to 50 millivolts, you can then increase the voltage here to 13.9. And again, this millivolt differential will start to grow some. And again, let it sit for some number of hours till this again goes below 50. If you have plenty of time, then just let it sit till it goes below 20, because it will drive it below 20. And eventually what you want to do is you want to get to 14 volts until this is below 50, but if you have patience, below 20. At that point you can't get any more balanced. It's about as good as it's going to be, and you can then install the battery or turn on DVCC and let the system go under BMS control. It's very simple. Alright, the second method we're going to use is if the batteries are already installed and all you have is a multi-plus servo and you're using DVCC under BMS control. So you can use the settings on your Touch 50 or on your remote console to set up the conditions to be in a balance mode at the voltage that you want. First thing to look at is we're at 13.3 volts, 97% battery, have a slight discharge here. So we're going to tap anywhere on here. We're going to go to settings. We're going to scroll down to system setup where DVCC is. Again, we're going to go to charge control. When you get to it, it's going to look like this. You should have DVCC on, shared voltage sense already on. But we're going to click this limit managed battery charge voltage toggle right here. When we do that, it's going to show up this next line where it says 55 volts. That's just the default setting, and we are going to set our target voltage. So just like on the power supply, we're going to set 13.8. We're going to hit set, and then that's it. So because under BMS control, the target output voltage requested by the battery to the Victron system is 14 volts, we're going to hold it slightly under 14 volts. In that way, it's never going to let this shift from 14 volts absorption into the float voltage of 13.5. And we're going to do that because 13.5 really isn't enough voltage to get this to balance. But 13.8 is. So let's go back to our system. It's under inverter only. Let's turn it on. And we'll go back to our overview. And in just a second here, we should hear that pop and click. And then we should see our current right here go up. So we're currently charging at 65 amps. Now, if we've done everything right, and in the DVCC, we have set the 13.8, this charge voltage will be restricted to 13.8. And when we approach 13.8, our charge current will start to drop. And then again, at that point, you can just let it sit for 12, 24, or even 48 hours if needed to get the cell delta that you would like to see. In this case, we want to see 50 millivolts or less. If you have enough time, we'll try to get 20 millivolts. So that's it. And then once you get your 50 millivolts or 20 millivolts, then you would just go back in here and you would set under system setup, charge control, DVCC is on, and you would just toggle that off. Toggle the limit managed battery charge voltage off. Again, make sure DVCC is on and shared voltage sense is on. Nothing else should be on in here. Now, of course, your controlling BMS should be Epoch. But once you set up these conditions to balance, you just let it run. When it's in this state right here, just don't touch it. Just leave it alone. And all you're concerned with is this number here. See, we're starting to climb slightly. 3 to 4. Now, if this were a new battery, it would be climbing a lot. It would be up 50, 60 millivolts. But we're only still at 13.6 volts and climbing. So, all right, let's come back here in just a second. All right, we have hit 13.8 volts. It's bouncing a little bit, but you can see that the current is starting to fall. But because of the voltage control, it's going to modulate and moderate right around there and hold it at 13.8. Even though it's bouncing, it's really about 13.8. On the BMV 712 I'm looking at it, it's about 13.82. And current is falling. So it's going to bounce around here. We've only reached 8 millivolts because this battery is already balanced. This is essentially the conditions that you would need to balance long term. And again, don't touch anything for 12, 24, 48 hours, or however long you need to get that cell delta to 50 millivolts or less, or preferably 20 millivolts, 25 millivolts. One other thing, if you start at 13.8 as programmed, 13.8 volts as programmed into the DVCC, or limit charged voltage, and you happen to get the cell overvolt warning, well, then you need to start over. You need to discharge the battery slightly, lower it to 13.7, and start again, because we are just trying to get the maximum voltage set in here to start the balance procedure without getting one of these cells to overvolt. So if one of these cells overvolt, just do a little bit of discharging until the cell overvolt warning clears, and then reconfigure your DVCC voltage to 13.7, and then start again and just let it sit at 13.7 until you get the cell delta of 50 or less. Once you get 50 or less, then you can turn it back up to 13.8. It'll climb a little bit more. Once you get to 50 or less, turn it up to 13.9. It'll climb a little more. When it gets to below 50 or less, turn it up to 14, and again repeat till you get 50 or less, or preferably 20 to 25. At that point, you're done, and then you just toggle this off, and then that'll be it.